Hey there! I'm so glad you decided to join me on this episode of Chattin' It Up. I'm CJ, and I'm here to talk to you about caregiving. So hold on, we're going to be talking about the strong willed dementia patient. In my case, a strong willed parent. Yeah, my mom. And in this episode, I'm going to discuss what it's like to deal with a strong willed patient. And, my mom, she had her ways about herself. And one of the things that I struggled with as a caregiver is, I wasn't quite sure how to deal with a strong willed individual. It's probably one of the reasons why my mom and I didn't get along, because we would butt heads because we can be pretty similar. That's not a good mixture. However, when I came into her home and found out that she needed help, she was very adamant in her strong-willed personality to say, I don't need your help. I'm fine, Carolyn. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I am self-sufficient. She was fiercely independent, but, when you come into her territory and you're trying to tell her that you're helping her immediately. And I don't know of any person as a caregiver that has not encountered this, where they would be told, I don't need your help. And I'm perfectly capable. They've got cognitive problems. They've got Alzheimer's. They've got dementia. They don't realize that they're worse than what they think they are. My mom always told me, I'm the boss here. You don't tell me what to do. This is my house. You don't live here. Even when I was staying with my mom for a few years, I would still hear that. Why don't you just go home? I don't need you here. I said, Mom, I live here with you, and I have been living with you to take care of you because there's things that you need my assistance. No, I don't need your help. Yeah, you do. And then it would be this thing of back and forth. And then I would catch myself getting emotionally wrapped up in this back and forth. And again, who's crazy here? Who's trying to reason with someone that can't reason? Me. I had to change my way of thinking, because obviously the way I was handling things was not working. And my mom, she always had the right words to say. She knew how to fight for herself. It was a method of operation her entire life. And now her independence is being threatened, and being threatened by her daughter, who, by the way, is another part of being strong willed. I was always seen as her kid, and I am her kid. I'm her daughter, her eldest daughter. But to her, I was still her child, and she was still the mother. And in her mind, you always treat your parents with respect. You treat your elders with respect. It didn't matter what I did. Her big thing was, no kid of mine is going to tell me what I need to do in my own house. Real defiant. What do you do with that? Well, what I did at first, which didn't make it any easier for me, is I pushed back. And I've said it many times. I was a reluctant caregiver. I didn't want to be her caregiver, but, as it turns out, I needed to be. Nobody else was here to do it. And then on top of it, to get the pushback from my own mom, who doesn't realize that she needs help. Always telling me that, everything short of, you're being disrespectful to your mother. I'm your mother. It was always that. I'm your mother. And I said, and I'm your daughter. And as time went on, I realized, chill out, Carolyn. Just chill out. Let her say what she's going to say. You don't need to rebuttal. You don't need to always say something when she says something. Just let her say it. Let it settle let it land where it wants to land. And then in the process is like, Mom, I love you. She always wanted to hear that. Mom, I love you, and I'm here to help you. I know you don't think that you need my help, but I want to help you. I want to do these things for you. And believe it or not, that changed her way of thinking. It wasn't more or less like, you can't tell me what to do. It was like, you want to help me? You love me? Yeah, Mom, I'm here because I love you. And then it got to the point of, I know you love me. And I go, really? Why? And I would kind of like give this tongue in cheek thing, like, why do you think I love you? Because if you weren't here, then it would show me that you don't love me, but you're here, so you do love me. Okay. If this is what does it, then I okay, then that's yes. Yes, I do love you. Look at it was all true, but the whole point is you don't don't argue with your loved one. Don't make it into a challenge. Don't push back. Have them believe what they want to believe and encourage that because it doesn't matter at this point who's right. And I found myself doing that in the beginning, trying to show her, I know what I'm doing. I'm right. You're not right. I'm right. Now, I had to put all that to the backside and just say, just take the loss, Carolyn. Let her think it. Play the game. Mom, I'm your kid. You probably don't need my help, but I want you to know I want to be here because I love you. So let me do something for you, please. And she ate it up. I wish I would have thought about that in the early years of my caregiving with her because it would have made things a whole lot easier for me. The other part too is getting her to drink and drink water, not always asking for coffee. Um, so I'd be creative on what to put in her water, like Crystal Light or some flavored non-sugar because she was diabetic, things like that to drop in her water or giving her those Pedialyte Otter Pops to keep her hydrated, because dehydration gives you a UTI, and dehydration is not good for a person that's bedridden that isn't moving around. But she wasn't hungry and she had like a really small appetite. And the weird thing is, and this taught me something about people that are fighting their weight gain, is that she was mom was had her moments of being heavy set in her younger years. And then at one period in her life, in her late 50s on, she got to the weight that she was supposed to be. But now here she's bedridden. She has dementia, mild case. But she always verbalized what she was thinking of herself, saying that she was still heavy. She goes, my big stomach, my, whatever the parts that she didn't like, she would emphasize it as if it was still like overweight. And I'm like, wow, the brain retains all this negative um, body image, and she's not even like that. I think she was weighing at the time that she was still making these remarks. She was like at 114. I think when she passed away, she was probably, I don't know, 97. She lost a ton of weight, right? But when she was in a good place between 114 and 124, she was still making comments as if she weighed, well, you know, she was overweight. And I was just amazed how the brain retains that, you know. So, and because of that, she didn't want to eat. I hardly ever do anything. I don't want to eat this. I'm not hungry, but I would like to have sugar, just plain, just toast some bread, put some butter on it, and then sprinkle sugar on it. I can't do that. You're diabetic. Are you nuts? But it also told me that before I came to live with her and to take care of her, that's what she did. She would make things like that, like sugar on top of bread. And that was the World War II snack of the day. Or she would, this is so bad. She would take the liquid non-dairy creamers, the flavored creamers. She'd use them like little shot glasses. I never realized it, but then I would make it make sense because when I would show up to her house, I'd find all these little tiny those blue cups with the French vanilla, non-dairy creamer flavored. They'd be all over the place. I'm like, what the heck is this? It never dawned on me. She'd open it up like a snack and she always wanted ice cream. Always wanted ice cream. And if she could have something to drink, it would always be, could I have coffee? Could I have coffee? I said, Mom, you can't just drink coffee. You need to have water. Well, there's water in coffee. No, no, that's not the same thing. Okay, then give me a margarita. Nope, you can't even have that. No alcohol. The woman was like, she had it in her mind. Boom, she was going to ask for it. But I had to be the one that was um, I had to have the mindset of knowing, okay, this is probably what she's going to do. I had to have the game plan. And you have to have that type of game plan as well, you know? You got to know. The thing about having a strong willed patient, in my case, a strong willed mom, that when we dealt with the doctor, it was kind of difficult because there was a time, and sometimes this happens, that the doctor doesn't help the family caregiver. Um, and it's really quite sad, but I know on my own personal experience with my mom's doctor, I also know that there's other people that have similar experiences that the doctor won't even assist the family caregiver. The people that see the patient the most, to understand the characteristics of their loved one and what the status is of their health, they spend the most time with the loved one, and the doctor won't deal with them. I won't understand it for the life of me, but I still say if you can, always make the hospital staff or the doctor, the PCPs, nursing division. I don't know if it's a big place that you go to, but be friends with the people that deal with your mom's health, the doctor, the nurse, the people within the office. Make them your best friend. They will help you at the end. But in my mom's situation, there's been a few times that the one time in particular I can remember, she went to the hospital, and when she was in the ER, I still don't know how these dementia patients do this, but they have enough oomph in them to pass tests, to answer questions in a very clear cognitive manner. And by the time they end up getting home, they're so spent, that's it. Like when they do the mini mental test where they draw a clock or they're asked 30 questions and they have to answer it, they act totally normal. And then by the time they end up coming home with you, they're like mush brain. Well, my mom went to the hospital and it turned out she had a severe UTI. And when they took her back to be examined or to have some tests run, I would then meet up with my mom in the hospital room. And when the doctor was there, I would ask a bunch of questions, and they said, "Oh, well, we've already discussed it with her." And I go, "Well, discuss what? I'm her primary, I'm her power of attorney." And they would go over what they discussed, and I said, "Oh, she shouldn't be doing that because she has blah, 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 blah." And they said, "Well, we've already discussed it with the patient, and that's what we're intending to do." I said, "No, I don't agree with that." And they said, "Well, I'm sorry, but your mom was able to communicate that to me, and we have to listen to the patient." And I was like, so I was totally overridden. And I had a problem with that. I said, wait a minute. This person has been deemed to have dementia, and I understand that you guys are going to determine that she's of sound mind, but I'm trying to tell you what I know and what I've been going through so you have a better understanding about this patient that you're helping. And they basically brushed me off and said, I'm sorry. As long as a patient is able to communicate to me, that's what we're going to go off of. I was pissed. And one of the nurses pulled me aside and said, "Who's her doctor?" And I said who the doctor was. And they kind of frowned and they went, "Yeah, no, I, I would take her to a neurologist, you know. That way it's defined because there's some strange things, but they won't sway from that. It has to do with HIPAA law. If they're a sound mind, you can deal with it. You know, you take the patient's word verbatim." And I'm trying to say, but wait a minute, it didn't matter. I had the paperwork. It didn't matter. They took her word, and that was what was happening. Um, I even had that with her doctor at one point about a procedure that they insisted on doing. They wanted her to take a shot. And I said, and I kind of pushed back and I said, she doesn't want it. And even my mom said, I don't want to have that. But, it ended up happening that the doctor and I ended up getting in an argument about it. And I'm like, if she doesn't want it and I'm talking to you on that behalf, you're trying to force your thoughts as if it's the end of all. If she wants to take this chance, then she's entitled to take this chance. And what am I going to do? And I let him know that I was dissatisfied with it. And bottom line, it didn't matter because he ended up retiring months after, which is probably best because he probably needed to do that. I still say as an advocate for the family caregiver that you should always consider the fact that carry your paperwork around, showing that you are the primary contact in the power of attorney for your client, that you can make health care and health directive decisions for your loved one. That's the thing. Once you're in a setting, a professional setting, and your loved one starts becoming strong-willed and talking as if they're of sound mind, there's not much you can do because then it's a matter of proving that they're not of sound mind. And at that particular time, I did not have the paperwork with me that says that she was deemed dementia. It probably would have changed things, but I didn't have it. And I was still learning how to do things. So let it be a word of wisdom. Have the paperwork always on you or nearby that you can grab it so the paperwork can speak on your behalf, and that you won't have that tussle with the healthcare system, because they will take the patient's word if they're able to properly communicate. And remember, just as a recap, try to find that common ground where you have the attitude of working with your loved one, not against, and not trying to stronghold somebody in their beliefs, but at least just say, hey, in my case, Mom, I'm here to help you because I love you and I want to help you. And I just wish you would allow me to do that. I'm okay with helping you, and I'm sure you don't want to be alone. Try to figure out what is endearing to your loved one. It'll make things easier, because the minute you try to do something that's against their independence, you're really going to get a fight, and you're going to get a good fight because they don't think anything's wrong with them. I hope this kind of helped you, if anything, to let you know that you're not alone. There's other caregivers that are going through similar things. Sometimes what remedies one caregiving situation may not help the next caregiving situation, but at least you know that there are people that are struggling with similar things. You're not alone. It is isolating, but please know that there is help. And who knows, if you have comments, suggestions, or stories that you want to share, put it in the comment section, because people like to know what it is that you did to help your loved one. Or if you have a question, maybe there's a question we can answer for you. I encourage you to put your comments in the comment section down below. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. In the meantime, Be good to yourself and continue to stay blessed in this time of caregiving. Remember, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Hey, thanks for watching. And please remember to hit the subscribe button. We are trying to grow our channel and reach 1,000 subscribers. Now, for every new subscriber, these two nutheads right here, they're going to get a treat, so we will all be happy. Thanks for watching.